keep hearing and seeing my mom outside. However, my mom disappeared years ago. For a little bit of context, I grew up in a really small town on the border of Alabama and Tennessee. It is one of those small towns where everybody knew everyone, and if anything happened, the whole town knew about it within a few hours. I went to a small school. I think there were maybe 17 other kids in my class. 100 people in the building on a day-to-day basis. The nearest hospital was cities away, super small police force. Not that we really needed one. You get the picture. So, whenever my mom, Christy, disappeared, it was a massive ordeal. I was 12. It was right after Christmas break. I had just gotten a phone for Christmas and I bragged to all my friends about it. The middle of January rolled around and everything was going great. Then one night, my mom was just gone. I know what you are thinking. People don't just disappear. But that is what happened. Me and my siblings went to bed one night. My mom and dad were downstairs watching TV when I fell asleep. The next thing I knew, my dad was frantically shaking me awake, asking if I had seen my mom. I told him that I hadn't and asked him what was going on. A few minutes later, the puzzle pieces clicked. My mom was gone. She had just vanished overnight. For the next 2 weeks, the entire town had been searching for her. The small police crew rounded up as many volunteers and service dogs as they could and searched. They practically went knocking door to door, asking if anyone had any information. The woods around the area were turned upside down and no rock was left unturned. I will never forget what my dad was like those nights. He didn't sleep. I don't remember seeing him eat, and he was rarely at home. If he was at home, he was yelling into the phone, demanding that the police search areas again and again until we found her. Nothing was ever found. It was like she just vanished. From there, my world was turned upside down. School began to be a mental war zone. I could always hear kids talking. Shit like, "Oh, that poor girl," and I don't even know what to say to her. I began lashing out at my friends and eventually I was left alone. It was just me, my siblings, and my father. That didn't matter though. My siblings became distant. Henry, my younger brother, shut down. He never spoke, only nodding and shaking his head. Lindsay, my older sister, would lash out often. It was rare that she wasn't yelling, and if she wasn't yelling then she was sobbing. The worst of it was my dad. He loved my mom more than life itself. He would have laid down his own life or killed someone for her. Nonetheless, he did his best for us. He was there when we needed to cry, let us yell at him, and he even got Henry a notepad to write on, since Henry wouldn't speak. I honestly don't know how he put on such a strong face in front of his children. He was suffering so much. A few months later, we moved. My dad couldn't afford the large house we loved, so we downsized. We moved up north a little, now in eastern TN. I started a new school and didn't make any new friends. I didn't want to make new friends. I had no interest in socializing with people. I think Henry had a really difficult time as well. I know his teachers hated him because he wouldn't talk. Lindsay did okay, made a few friends, and was starting her new school strong. All of this was 5 years ago. I'm 17 now. Lindsay has moved away. She's at some college back down in Alabama. Henry is still silent, but I do see him smile now, which is nice. My dad isn't okay, but I never comment on the amount he drinks or the fresh air he gets. He's smoking, but I'm not supposed to know that. I have gotten a little better and I'm set to graduate in a few months. But that pretty much catches us up to today. I don't think I am missing any important details, but if I think of anything I'll edit/update. A few weeks ago, I woke up in the middle of the night to a loud banging on my window. It scared the shit out of me. I threw back my curtains to be met with a horrifying sight. In the middle of the backyard, maybe a few yards away from my window and a few feet away from the woods, stood a mangled mess of limbs. It looked like it had been mauled by a bear. The limbs were turned wonky and unnaturally. I don't know if there was blood, I couldn't see. I sprinted out of my room and down the hall, nearly breaking down my dad's door. "Dad." I panted, trying to catch my breath. "There's something outside, get your fucking gun." He was wide awake at this point, looking at me with a concerned look. "What are you talking about, sweetie? There is something outside." Okay, hold on." He rose from his bed and walked into the hallway. I begged him to grab his gun as he made his way down to my room. When he entered my room, the curtains were still drawn back. He peered outside, a confused look on his face. "Sweetie, there's nothing out there," he explained, motioning for me to look. "There was, I swear to you." I pressed my face against the glass, desperately trying to find some sign that that thing was there. "Go back to bed, Emma." He was stern, leaving no room for argument. He walked off, clearly upset that I had woken him up and made him come into my room. After that, there was a dramatic shift in my life. It started small, waking up in the middle of the night to taps on my window. I felt like I was being watched everywhere I went. I was so paranoid. It slowly got worse, the tapping turned into banging, and I could feel eyes glaring at me even when I was positive I was alone. But the other night things went sideways. I hadn't heard banging the past few nights and I hoped the torment was over. Tuesday night, I woke up to a small tap on my window. I rolled over, refusing to acknowledge the noise. A few minutes later, another tap rang out through the room. I squeezed my eyes shut, hoping that if I ignored it, then whatever it was would go away. It kept up like that. Every few minutes a tap would disrupt the silence in my room. Then I heard my mother's voice. It was soft, a whisper. I shot up in bed, jumping out of the bed and rushing toward the window. It had been years since I heard that voice, but I knew it. I knew that it was my mother's. Slamming against the window, my eyes scanned the darkness. There was nothing, nobody was out there. My mind was spinning, I knew what I had heard. I didn't sleep that night. Now and then a soft humming could be heard outside my window. It's been like this for a few days now. That brings me to this morning. I didn't go to school today, I decided to just skip. I told my dad what I had heard, which pissed him off beyond belief. Something back a sick joke and how we would talk when he got home. I don't know what to do. I know it was my mother, I know it. I know her voice. If anybody has any information or advice, please. I'm desperate. I don't know what to do.